You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Welcome everybody to the Four Corners, brought to you by the Official Wrestling Museum. We are your hosts. I am Angel, and I'm joined by the Official Wrestling Museum's Hall of Famer.
Whoa, life. And like I said, man, one day you'll get there.
I'm just trucking along, you know. I'm having fun when I'm doing this. Is great to be able to do this with the museum, and this show here, it's pretty fun show for us.
Yeah, we came up with the idea, pitched it. I think this might be like number 8 or 9.
Something like that, yeah.
And we originally were like, okay, is it going to be our 4 favorites, our 4 best, or whatever? Originally, it was going to be what we thought were the 4 best, but not maybe the 4 best. It was your own guilty pleasures, and it's kind of evolved into not necessarily best or even worst, unless like last 2 weeks we did best and worst gimmicks. That will be...
This kind of became like a buffet.
It kind of just became of, okay, what 4... And I think that's what when Stryker was on, when we were talking about WrestleMania moments, and we were talking about still our favorites, and he brought up one that he did. I can't remember what it was at this point. He brought up one that he did. Oh, it was Undertaker's streak. He brought up that he didn't like it, and I'm like, okay, that's different than anything we've done. And he also did the same thing with the cruiserweights. He was like, I just want to talk about one that was memorable to me, and that was La Parka, and we were going over like the best. So it's kind of evolved into just 4 things that we feel deemed worthy of talking about. Or, hey, maybe I want to hear what your opinion is on this, and so I'm going to throw it into one of the corners. You know what I mean? So it's cool.
And we'll show up to these shows, and we got here early and we do our, our meeting and stuff. And they're like, all right, well, today, this show, we're going to cover this or that, whatever. And sometimes these shows, we don't even know what the theme is. Right. And then some weeks we have been told this stuff. And it's like, okay, so it's kind of like on the fly trying to think. And
I know for the best gimmicks, even though we did know that one was coming up, I only had one in mind. It wasn't until we were doing it, and then
you start thinking.
And like you said, we think great on the fly. So
So this week here, we're talking about who we felt.
Well, before you do that, don't you want to talk about that QR code down there?
That's right. That's that thing on the screen, right? That thing that has all the squiggles, that has the little white thing.
That you see on Raw, but this one's more important than that.
Way more important. You take your phone out, you go click, click, and it's going to open up a site, and it's a free site. That's so great about it. And it only takes you guys about 10 seconds to do.
I really like, and if you check out Off the Ropes, where we talked about the history of King of the Ring this week, you really gave a good story about what, because the Pro Wrestling Day is already in Rhode Island, and the history of King of the Ring in Rhode Island. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, Rhode Island is a really big base between Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut for WWE. Yeah. A lot of people say, oh, New York, and between Madison Square Garden and like Poughkeepsie, those are your only real major areas for WWE way back in the day. Other than that, it was all Rhode Island, Mass, Connecticut that was really the founding area for that company to make it into what it is today. And with the QR code, is honoring all the workers, all the behind the scenes people, all the history and the memories that this business has given to everybody. And with your help, we're trying to get other politicians in other states to join June 13th here in Rhode Island and make it from Professional Wrestling Day into a National Wrestling Day. So again, totally free to do. Takes only about 10 seconds to do.
How cool would it be on Raw for them to say, today is Pro Wrestling Day? They would, if that became a thing, I'm sure they would jump on it.
Absolutely. And here's the
surprised
best.
they haven't tried.
I don't know why they haven't. Like you would think, especially with when Trump was in office, he was WWE was one of the biggest backers. You would think, hey, get this sign in for me, and he would just sign a piece of paper.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to make like April 28th or something. Like, generally a day where you would think of WrestleMania be that.
Well, originally we were trying to do the very first WrestleMania day.
Okay, yeah,
However,
right, exactly.
the way
That's kinda what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, the way
I don't know
everything
what the
fell
date was.
in Rhode Island, and we were trying to get it in line for the July 29th show last year.
Yeah.
That's how we had to go with that particular date,
What
which
was
is okay.
WrestleMania 1? Was it April 4th? March 23rd? I don't know. I'm just guessing. Yeah.
I believe it was the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the 31st. So that's why we ended up going with the 13th of June. It's just how, but that's okay. It's literally almost the halfway mark in the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, too, if this becomes national, that's fantastic. If WWE ran with it, if AEW ran with it, if any company ran with it, that's great. And they don't even have to mention the museum's name because this isn't something that the museum's trying to get credit for. It's just something that we want to say thank you. And if you can honor donuts in a day,
Right.
you can honor professional wrestling.
And today, so as we segue, today is to honor King of the Rings that weren't.
Yes, that worked.
Yeah.
So this should be interesting.
Yeah,
there's
because
a whole
it's
cluster of people.
Yeah. So the idea is to throw in corners people that we thought would have made
benefited
decent
or-
King of the Rings or could have done something. And the reason I say people is because I know I told you I had one in mind and I was going to save it for my last pick, but I only have one at the moment. So I'm going to make it my first pick. And as I said, the reason I say people is because I think China would have been a good choice for King of the Ring. I think it would have helped her out. She did first, she won the Intercontinental title.
Yep.
I honestly think, like, in 99, if you chose China over Billy Gunn, I think that would have been a better pick. Billy Gunn didn't do anything with the King of the Ring. In fact, he's gone on to be one of the two, when people mention, as we've mentioned,
Yep.
Mabel, whether we agree with it or not, Mabel and Billy Gunn tend to be the two that are the two least favorite of the Kings of the
And
Rings.
I don't get with Mabel. I really don't.
I think China, though, would have been a much
That
more
is a
solid
very,
pick.
very interesting, and it would have brought a lot of
And
stories.
not call her
and
Queen of the
get-
Ring, call her
See-
the King of the Ring.
Yeah, you know what I mean. She did the Rumble. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's pretty.
She
good.
was in the Rumble. She was the first woman in the Rumble.
Yep.
She won the Intercontinental belt, and I just think that China would have worked
So
as King of the Ring. Maybe not. At the time they weren't necessarily getting a heavyweight title shot, so she didn't have to get the heavyweight title shot. Getting the King of the Ring at that time would have just been to elevate her into more
Right.
of a superstardom, and I think
That's
I think
interesting.
yeah, I think that works. So
Interesting.
my first person in the
Okay.
corner is China.
Okay, so my first person, I'm gonna go with a official Wrestling Museum's Hall of Famer, and
Me?
Oh, I would have said you. I would have, but we can't put ourselves in these things. At that time, he was working with WWE as Skip. I think
Oh wow, Candido
Candido. I think he had the
as
abil-
Skip though, like
as Skip, and maybe transitioning out into Candido if that was going to be something allowed. But I think that would have helped
Candido.
switch into the new character, or even as Skip would have elevated that team, from him coming out as a Body Donnas, a Body Donna to the Body Donnas, it would have elevated him. And I think King Skip would have been funny sounding and it would have caught on to people. But at the same token, I think he would have delivered the royalty of a crown a lot better because
That's
he
an
had the
interesting
look.
pick. I would have never thought of Skip, or I mean, it's an interesting pick. Would they, you think
I
about
gotta write these down.
you think about would they have picked him though? Because I don't know. I mean, I just don't think he would have. Like China, I could see that being a possibility. Skip, and again, it's whatever you want.
Right,
I'm just
right.
saying, in the grand scheme of that, I could never see them putting him even in that position. Definitely, the guy has the talent. He's one of my favorite, low key, one of my favorite guys. My next toss into a corner. I thought it would be a great pick, and then as we talked about the King of the Ring tournament, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not, but I think he also would have made a good King of the Ring, because generally when you think of King of the Rings, it's mostly heels. I think there's only been like
Yeah, there's
Bret
not
Hart
that
and Ken
many.
Shamrock were the only baby faces, really.
Tito Santana.
Well, yeah, I mean that was
way before, but yeah,
So generally you think of heels, and this guy, he did fine not winning King of the Ring, because Edge won it. Oh no, Edge too. So there's 3. Christian, I think Christian at a
Okay.
certain time, not at that time, maybe a couple years down the line, maybe
Could've
like
been, yeah.
maybe like
King Christian
04 or so. I think he could have been.
or Christian the King.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
he could have served as a king, but he did well. Where I said he did well enough not winning, because Edge won, and he was the one that got to carry the Stanley Cup around. I'm always like I'm holding it. You know,
Yeah, he's a.
like hello. Anyway, I think he was someone that would have worked out well as a king. You know, comical. I think he would have really played the king aspect of it. So.
Okay.
You have any, or you still?
No, I have one. This was my main one that I originally thought when I heard about this show, and I think it was something that should have been done. Which I'm trying to think now, when they ran the King of the Ring tournaments, I don't think it probably, because they skipped time frames, right?
Right.
Yeah, let's flip over the page because I think I got my notes there. Yeah, so they skipped, so, but they skipped.
That was your last pick. So.
It was. But I think if they still worked it in, it would have been good. Mr. Perfect.
Oh, he would have been a solid King of the Ring.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What perfect way than having you're the king? You know what I mean? And that guy, he was just probably one of the best performers.
I think Macho King did great with. I mean, at this time, so what? King of the Ring, the first pay per view was '93. I mean, if you want to, he ended up getting hurt, so he wasn't in like '94, I don't think. But I mean, I think that Bret Hart winning that first King of the Ring was kind of essential. I think you kind of had to do it to establish what King of the Ring was going to become.
Yeah.
But if you said, if in a perfect world, if Kurt Hennig wasn't on the shelf, him winning in '94 instead of Bret Hart, I don't think Bret Hart needed to win twice, but it did definitely help what King of the Ring again was going to become.
Right.
I think Kurt Hennig would have fit really well, definitely as a King of the Ring winner. So that's a good pick. My next pick, I'm not sure of, because I don't feel like he needs or needed to ever win King of the Ring. He was a guy who pretty much from jump was going to have that rocket strapped to him, and he's still going today, but he's never won it. And in fact, on SmackDown, he said, I'd never won it. Randy Orton was never King of the Ring. I felt like that would be something that, had he won the King of the Ring, this would be more of the kind of King of the Ring tournament where he wins King of the Ring, not necessarily wearing the crown and stuff, more of wins King of the Ring and then gets the push. Maybe like, for example,
When he was like the legend killer?
when he was doing that,
Something
and then he
like
ended
that.
up beating Benoit for the belt at SummerSlam. I know they built him up to have that match, but almost in a way, if I remember correctly, it was kind of like he still felt mid-card, but he was in the title picture and won the title.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe if you had him win a King of the Ring before that, that would have helped feel, because he just felt like he was the Intercontinental title guy. Now he's fighting for the heavyweight title. And I felt like if you threw a King of the Ring in there, that would have built him up a little more. But I don't think he totally needed it. So, but yeah, that's the third pick.
Okay.
Who my next pick will be, I don't know. We'll find out.
So
I'll find out.
I'm gonna go more recent time. And two, this is hard too, because you still like say Mr. Perfect. Where would he have fit in that perfect gimmick that he was, what they were doing? So it is kind of tough, but new age stuff, I'm gonna say Chad Gable.
Yeah, Chad Gable
I think
was
he
the
would
guy
really
I thought
make
of.
a good King of the Ring.
Nowadays, yeah.
You know, I mean, he has the wrestling ability. He has. It's funny too. Like the three guys I picked, kind of all similar with their style, with their. You know what I mean?
Skip and Chad Gable, two of the shorter, as Billy Barty said, the smaller guys in the business.
But
Well, he didn't say it.
can
Mel Allen
deliver.
said it, but
He could deliver. He has good mic skills.
Chad Gable is a guy that
King Gable.
you know when Chad Gable comes out, it's going to be a great match.
Yep.
Even on Raw, like where the matches aren't always the best because of TV, how TV is so. I mean, just every time he's out, it's like this guy. He's one of those guys that's on a list of can't really put on a bad match.
And you said earlier too, there was only a couple faces. King Woods was a face, and I gotta say, and we didn't get to talk too much about him on Off the Ropes, but I think he did a phenomenal job selling the story how he always wanted to be a king in the ring and playing that role out, where they really didn't give him anything to do with it, but he really did sell it really well. I give him credit for it.
See, at the time, that was when I had some personal issues going on with my wife and everything. So, I know he won King of the Ring just from tracking back. That was a time I really
and
wasn't
I don't
watching.
like where they're doing King of the Rings now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just...
Where it's overseas?
Yeah.
You mean where?
I don't like that.
I think
it's
it's kind of
back-to-back years now.
Well, I think it's
with
also
it.
kind of strange that this year it's Queen of the Ring, and we all know how that part of the world feels about women. So it's
Right.
kind of.
They have to cover themselves
Right.
up. It's odd.
I don't think maybe this year that when they win the Queen of the Ring, maybe they just win it and they don't coronate the person till Raw maybe when they're back home.
That would be.
So it is kind of odd.
Yeah, it is. It is very odd, and I also don't like the fact too, you have it over there. It's not on a time frame that's a normal time frame for wrestling. I understand as a world, they're inconvenienced, this, that, whatever. But your brand is based off here in the U.S. Okay, and this isn't like anything against them, but now something special like a King of the Ring.
Yeah.
You might be missing because you might forget, oh man, it's already started. Where if you had, say, Backlash and it already started, you're like, oh man, I missed it. It already started. Oh, okay, whatever. You know, a King of the Ring is like a Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Like it's something special. It's the event that's sold. You know what I mean? I don't know. My personal opinion on it.
So I think, I was trying to delay a lot too because I still.
You still don't know?
It's like I still don't know. I do now, I guess.
Okay.
I'm sitting there.
Don't pick my guy.
Hopefully not. Is your guy current?
No.
Okay, so no, I'm picking a current guy.
Okay.
So there's all right. So who I'm just curious. My picks were China.
You had China, Christian, Randy Orton.
Okay, Randy Orton. I know he is current.
You got 2
but-
seasons and all.
Yeah, Randy Orton is current, but my pick for Randy Orton was more of that year when he won the title. What was that? 04? Or I think.
Something like that.
Okay, so I wouldn't necessarily call him current, even though he's still
Right.
going. My pick now would be, I would have maybe picked him for this year, but he's not in, and that's Drew McIntyre. I think that Drew McIntyre would fit, especially now this year. My thinking is that he won the belt at Mania.
Yep.
Held it for, 5:46, they said? 5 minutes and 46 seconds? Lost it because Damian Priest cashed in. Okay. Maybe you say he's doing the gimmick where, CM Punk screwed him and he feels like he's getting screwed over. So maybe, he doesn't deserve a title shot. He blew it on his own. Well, how is he going to get the title shot? He goes, he wins King of the Ring. Now, does that mean beating Gunther? Hey, everyone, well, not everyone out there, but everyone that knows me knows Gunther is like my favorite guy. Him and Ilya Dragunov, who were in the tournament, that I did not want to see them go against each other because I want that to be built up so special. But anyway,
Special in the
I
heart.
think that Drew McIntyre winning the tournament would have given a reason for him now to get a title shot at
Yeah.
SummerSlam. And then
The
I
only
don't
thing,
think
though,
Damian
is-
Priest, though, has done great with the title. But again,
So,
they're
here's
just
the thing
kind of
with
getting him
Damian
started.
Priest. He is in a heel faction. Everybody's healing, and he's coming out as a face.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It
Yeah.
is, and I actually, to be honest with you, I like how he's handling the belt.
I like him.
I do.
I do like him, and
I've always been over on him.
Yeah.
And he was kind of on that borderline of somebody that I would have said for King of the Ring.
Okay.
He would be.
I could see him-
because I think it would have fit him well. I think now it's out of the question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he's doing a really great job as the champion right now. Drew isn't a bad choice to win this particular year.
Yeah.
With the storyline with CM Punk, I don't think it would have made sense. But because they got to kill that off.
Yeah.
But
By the
I think
time-
Drew
by the
would have
time
been a
Punk
good
came-
King of
Yeah,
the Ring.
by the time Punk came back,
That's true, too.
the King of the Ring thing would have been over as far as he would have either had his title shot and won the belt or lost. I would have him win it, and then you have Punk and McIntyre. They don't need the belt for that feud, but that would escalate it even more. Like, hey, now I have the belt. You cost me the belt before. Now I have the belt. You want to try to take it off me now? So it just kind of adds another level to that. But yeah, so those are my 4 picks. Let's see who you're.
So my 4th pick probably.
R-Truth. 60-time champion, 8
You
King
know,
of the Ring.
I didn't even think of R-Truth. And now that you said that, I think I want to kick away the other guy for Truth.
I feel like
I think Truth would honestly make. So originally I was
a
going
jester, not the king.
I was originally going to say Earthquake.
Oh,
And
okay.
Just because I think it would have helped elevate him earlier on in his career, and I think it would have brought
That's not a bad
what
pick.
Mabel brought to the King of the Ring tournament.
Would you have wanted him to be the crown-wearing king, or more of, say, Jimmy Hart wears the crown? He has all the stuff, kind of like.
So I would have liked to see Earthquake come out, wear it while he's doing it, and end up crushing the crown. And now Jimmy Hart grabs it, and now Jimmy Hart's wearing the stuff.
Okay.
You okay?
Earthquake's not
I'm going
bad
to leave
pick.
Earthquake in as much as
Yeah.
I wanted
Well,
to substitute for
Truth can be an
R-Truth.
honorable mention.
He is a huge honorable
I have an
mention.
honorable mention too. When you said Damian Priest, he would be a nice honorable mention. Finn Balor also, but not now. Finn Balor maybe like 2 years ago or
Finn
3
was
years ago.
the last one against Woods.
Oh,
He was in the finals for him, so
okay.
Finn would have been a good one too. So we got a really cool list here.
Yeah.
You know, this is, and it's interesting too, because when we came in and they were like this and like, oh yeah, I got one. I said, yeah, I got one for sure. I'm playing well. And even right before we sat down, we were still talking about that. And if you stop and you look at this list, I think it's a really. Let us know if you like our list of what you guys think and who you guys
Yeah.
will put in
So
too.
run over them real
You
quick.
picked China, Christian, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
My picks was Skip, Mr. Perfect, Chad Gable, Earthquake.
So
Now we got to make a 4.
right. So I think just looking at the 2 lists right off the bat, and I'm looking at the first 2 names going down.
Yep.
For you, your first 2 are Skip and Mr. Perfect.
Yep.
I think Mr. Perfect is a solid pick.
Yeah,
I think he could go in that
Mr.
corner.
Perfect.
And on my side, I think, so I have China and I have Christian. I think China would, I just think
I was
that
going to
they,
say, I think that would have
Yeah?
been perfect.
all right.
And you know what? And I remember when they were doing that, I'm like, oh my God, China's going to win. And that's going to be the
She
first
might have even
female.
been in one. I don't even remember.
She was in the tournament.
Okay,
for
she
that.
was in the
Yeah.
tournament. Didn't she wrestle like X-Pac or Billy Gunn, maybe even? I think she wrestled, because they had DX split
It
up.
was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, it could have even been Road Dogg. I know they split them up, because that's when they were doing that really, really good storyline of they were all feuding over the merchandise rights. You
Yeah,
know, that
it had to
great
be.
story.
It had to either be Road Dogg or X-Pac.
Okay.
Because she was with Billy.
Oh, yeah, because they
Yeah.
kind of were
Yep.
together, right? And then if you
Alright.
ask me, you know what? These 4 are hard, because I feel like all 4 of them could work out. Now, I could take Randy Orton out, because I don't think he needed it. I just think it would have elevated him
Right.
more. So I could take him out.
I would say I would take Chad out only because I think Chad still has the time to become the king
Yeah,
of the ring.
Chad would be a guy, like, I wouldn't see him winning it this year based on storyline reasons, and I don't think it would fit him this
Well,
year.
he's not even in the tournament.
Right. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying if
If
they
he
did put
was,
him in,
yeah.
I don't think that it would suit him this year. Maybe last year.
Yeah.
Or, well, no, depending on time frame. So then if we took out Chad and I took out Orton, we're going with Earthquake and Drew McIntyre. And I think out of those last 4 that we had, that's probably who I would have also picked. I might have thrown Chad. Chad was iffy. Like, I definitely think he would work. But Earthquake, I would have never guessed him or thought of him. I think that was a really good pick. You think about it. King Quake. You know?
Yeah.
Remember Quake Burgers? You know, and like you said, no, I don't want to see Earthquake be the guy that wears the crown. Maybe he has some sort of broken crown.
Right.
It's all cracked up or something. Like you said, maybe Jimmy Hart wears it or whatever, or he throws it to the ground. I don't need this. But it would have elevated him even. He's already wrestling Hogan. But
Because when he worked Hogan, I never understood to me, it didn't feel like he was at that level.
He just, he just came out and did it.
Yeah.
And maybe being King of the Ring would have pushed him. It would have
To
made.
that,
That's
yeah.
kind of how I felt with Orton and Benoit. Was like Orton was, as Intercontinental Champion, he was solid mid card guy. You knew he was going to eventually go to the top.
Right.
And I felt maybe King of the Ring would put him there. He didn't need it though, and I feel like Quake, he didn't need it, but I think
Right.
it would have fit. And like I said, Drew McIntyre, just the fact of how he is, like his character. I think him saying like, "I was King of the Ring," it fits him.
It does.
And again, does he need it? No, but where he just lost the title with the Money in the Bank reasons and all that, I think that would rehab him. Not that he needs to be rehabbed,
Yeah.
because the way he lost it, was really good for his character too. But I think that winning King of the Ring would help him. So,
So who are you saying?
I think we picked with Perfect,
Mr. Perfect and
China, Earthquake, and Drew McIntyre. Is that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Because, I think Christian was a good name. I don't know what I just
Yeah,
did
I
there.
don't think
I
he'd be
think Christian
one
was a
like-
good name, but I don't
Yeah.
think it would have gone over because Edge, Christian,
He did fine
you know what I mean?
enough
It's just
without
like Shawn
winning, like I
Michaels.
said,
Right. And I think
Interesting that like some names that were not thrown out were like Shawn Michaels, but I don't think he ever needed it. Vader, I think Vader maybe at one point
King Vader?
he might have been an honorable mention for me. Vader.
Yeah.
Ahmed Johnson too, I think might have been an honorable mention at one point before he started getting injured and the Nation came in.
Right, but remember at that time frame too, they didn't really want to push certain
Right.
people. So I think if you
Here's
go
one.
over,
How about this guy, Jerry the King Lawler? He never won King of the Ring.
no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
But I don't think he had to, because you always had, if it was a baby face, you always had that built-in feud of
Right.
Jerry the King Lawler is going to come beat him up, just like he did with Bret Hart and
Imagine if Doink went over.
the Jester. Yeah, I'm glad that none of them. I don't know. Again, I don't think Billy Gunn was a bad pick. I just think it was mishandled and.
I think it was he came in after Ken Shamrock, and I think people were confused on Ken Shamrock.
So you
and
see, I don't.
think
With
that's
I don't know. I mean, I get your point because Ken Shamrock. I just think that in that era, with the way of thinking, like Vince Russo's probably way of thinking is, Shamrock's won tournaments and he's won this tournament. I can see a point like, okay, he was an underwhelming king because he really didn't do. Like I said, they did the opening month or so,
Yeah,
and he
that
was
was
fighting
it.
all the other kings. That's what they tend to do too. Like another guy nowadays, maybe. I think Bronson Reed would be a pretty good King of the Ring. I think maybe.
possibly, but look, he just won the Andre the Giant Memorial
Yeah.
Battle Royal,
And
and
they
they didn't even take out the trophy
Right.
the next night for him. You know what I mean? At least like Mojo Rawley, he got it a couple of weeks in a row. But yeah, so that's our 4 picks. Let us know what you guys think, and let us know if we did a good job picking our picks. Send it into the museum. Make sure you guys get your questions in for the hot tag because we need those as well too. Off the ropes this week, we do talk about the history of the King of the Ring. And free previews still going on for part 2. Make sure you check that out because that's getting ready to wrap and a new one's coming out soon. And the 4 corners, we're right here for you guys. So we thank you guys very much for tuning in. Figures are us, we're talking wrestling buddies. So it's a pretty cool week that we have going on here, folks. That QR code, please scan it, guys. It definitely helps us out. Take a smile up challenge. Spread more smiles than hate in the world. And if you're not doing anything on Memorial Day, come on down to North Providence, Rhode Island. Check out the parade. We will be in it. If anybody wants some autographs, pictures, just wave to us. We'll come on over. We'll do it up for you. It's going to be a really fun day. It's always a really great, packed full parade.
Yeah.
It goes down from Mill Spring Avenue up to, I think it's Noddy's Park. So make sure you guys come on out there. I think it kicks off about 1 o'clock or something.
And we'll probably be the tail end. They
Yeah.
gotta put us at the end.
They gotta put us at
We're
the
the
end.
most lively group
Yeah,
there, so.
and we spend so much time interacting with people that
We gotta run and catch
we
up.
always have to run and catch up. So sometimes the parade is already done and we're still going down the street.
Right.
That's us. But anywho,
We even had the vendors that were selling the little swords and stuff,
Yeah.
taking pictures and stuff.
oh
so.
yeah, and we when the museum is a part of something, we make it a show.
We're
we
there
make
to
it
entertain. That's just
what
exactly,
wrestling
yeah,
is about, and that's what we do. So thank you guys very, very much. And you know what they say?
Come back next week and see what we throw in the corner.
Take care.